Good morning, excuse me. Good morning, everybody. Joe Chacho here. Happy Thursday, everybody. Today I want to talk about something we probably never talked about before is how a client receives the benefit goes to their beneficiary. So let's kind of start off that when a client of yours passes away, there's steps you can take or their beneficiary can take to call the carrier. You're going to call the carrier. You're going to tell them the client's name. They're going to ask you the time that they passed, the date. They're going to ask you the cause of death. Was it accidental or natural? And they're going to ask you for a mailing address because they're going to mail the information to the client. Some carriers will mail it to them. Some carriers will email it to them. Some will even email it to you, and you can personally assist your client with it. What they're going to ask them for is a certified death certificate. Depending on the state you're in, it can be the long form, it can be the short form. They're going to ask you to fill out the name and address of the beneficiary to where everything is okie dokie. And then from there, you can sometimes scan it and send it back. Some carriers want the actual wet copy, and they also want the certified copy of the death certificate. So it just depends on the carrier that the client is with at the time that they pass away. So you just got to kind of find out what their rules are. Now, just because somebody buys life insurance from you, the whole goal is to where when they pass away, their beneficiary gets the $10,000, $15,000, whatever the face amount is. But to make sure the claim is paid when the client passes away, we've got to make sure as agents we properly underwrite the case. Because what ends up happening is that if a client forgets to tell you something and you don't know that they had a heart attack 6 months ago and the medication doesn't show up on the RX and they pass away within the first 2 years, there's going to be a problem. What do you mean by the first 2 years be a problem? Well, every insurance company has what they call as a contestability period, which is normally a 2-year look back. And what that means is that the insurance company wants us to be field underwriters to where we actually field underwrite for them, ask the client the questions, either do a phone interview, an e-app, or send an app in. They want us to do our job to help them to make sure the client is eligible to receive a benefit, and when they do pass away, they get what's rightfully theirs. So if a client forgets to tell you something, there could be a possibility when they pass away in the first 2 years that they'll get nothing back, okay? Now, let's kind of think about that there. If there's a contestability of 2 years and the client gets nothing back because the claim is denied, what happens? Well, what the insurance company does, they go, Joe, they don't say this here, but this is what they're telling you. Joe, you did not properly field underwrite it, or the client did not tell you the whole story. So what we're going to do is that we're not going to pay the $10,000 claim. We are going to return all the money the client paid back to the beneficiary, no interest. So if they paid in, let's say, $1,000 of premium, they're going to send the beneficiary $1,000. And does the insurance company say, well, Joe, you messed up, we're going to take it out of our pocket? No. Insurance company says, Joe, since it didn't pay out, you will have to pay that $1,000 back. So if a client passes away in the 23rd month and something is not correct, what's going to happen is that they're going to refund the client's beneficiary all the money, and you're going to get a charge back. So that's something you need to sit and think about when you're doing the field underwriting. But the mere fact is that those are just the rules of the ball game when you actually write a policy. So be careful and underwrite properly to where the client gets their money and you don't get a charge back. Now, let's sit and say everything goes perfect. Client filled the application out perfectly. You submit all the paperwork. There's no really set time period that the client will get the check from the insurance company. It just depends on how fast the insurance company moves and how long they've had it for. Now, what usually works out, if it's less than 2 years, it takes a little bit longer because most of the time the insurance companies request medical records from the doctor. Depends on how fast the doctor sends the medical records in. So if the doctor sends medical records in, let's say within 3 weeks, and they go through the records and they see that there's a Dr. Jones on there who's a different type of doctor, either a cardiologist, some other type of doctor that they feel could be something that is not done correctly in the application, now they get the medical records from that doctor, which could take 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it can take a month. So now you've gone 3 weeks plus the week to get everything set up. That's 4. Another 2 to 4 weeks. You're looking at sometimes 2 months, 3 months before the client either gets paid or they get denied, and it could last longer. So theoretically, when they ask for medication, when they ask for information from the doctors, it depends on how fast the doctor moves on how fast the client gets paid. If it's over 2 years, they do not request any medications. They don't request, they don't request any type of information from the doctors because the 2-year contestability has already gone by. That could take a week to get the information back. Then it's got to go through the processing. So they may get their check 10 days, 2 weeks. It could be longer. It just depends on the insurance company. I got a dear friend of mine that passed away about a month ago. Her daughter called me. Everything was set up. She mailed everything to the insurance company. Heard nothing for about a week. We called the insurance company back. The insurance company says, we never received anything. So sometimes when you send stuff to the insurance company, you need to find out the address you're sending it to, if that's correct. You need to make sure that should you do like a certified actual receipt requested, should you overnight it to make sure? So that's up to you and the client what they want to do, because if they don't receive it, the process stops. You got to fill everything out again and do it. Luckily, she had an extra death certificate because this particular company wanted a long form certified death certificate. So in the state of Florida, they want the long form. Now, let's say you got a policy for $10,000 and you do not have the money to pay for the funeral. Client says, Joe, I don't have the extra money to pay for the funeral. And the client has had it for over 2 years. So it's no longer in the actual contestability stage. What you can do is get with the funeral home and tell the funeral home, the name of the company is, my policy number is this. Get with them, and they'll do the paperwork so the insurance company will assign the funeral home X amount of dollars. So the funeral home is saying, we know that policy is good. It's been enforced for more than 2 years. What we're going to do is that we're going to wait for our money because there's money in the bank. The insurance company has verified it. Insurance company says, yes, it's over 2 years. The benefits will be paid. So 99% of all funeral homes that I'm aware of will accept an assignment. So let's say, for example, you got a policy for $10,000. The funeral is $7,000. What they're going to do is that they're going to assign $7,000 to ABC Funeral Home, and the remaining $3,000 they're either going to give to one beneficiary or divide it up between 1 or 2 beneficiaries. So that's another option you can do. Some people have actually paid for the funeral, and then they wait for the money to come back in. Whatever the client wants to do, whatever their finances are, and a lot has to do with the size of the policy and how much money the parent or the grandparent, whoever it is, had in savings to take care of any additional expenses that were not needed before they passed away. So we got to kind of make sure that when we do an application, we do it correctly. We make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's. We know that there's a 2-year, basically a look back, which is called the contestability period, that the insurance company says we're going to make sure everybody did their job correctly. Because at the time of application, there's been times where the MIB did not show they had a heart attack 8 months ago. The RX that they used to check it may not have had a certain medication on there that would have been a decline from the beginning. So we got to make sure we as agents do our job properly. If something happens in the first 2 years, it could take month, 2 months, 3 months. I've seen them take at least 5 months to pay one client of mine. Okay? and you've got no guarantee because it's taking a longer time they're going to get paid. That particular client took 5 minutes. They didn't get paid. Money went back to the beneficiary, and it was a chargeback on my part, all because the client told me what I thought was the truth. They looked into it. They saw the main doctor. Then they got information from another doctor, and that doctor had something on there that if I would have known about it, I wouldn't have put them with the carrier that I put them with. I'd have put them with a different carrier, such as a guaranteed issue. Now, that's number one and number two. Number three, when it comes to filling the paperwork out, it's very simple. Anybody can do it. To me, it's something I kind of like to help the client out. It helps them out, makes them feel good. It's part of your job. And also what I've done is that people have actually told me, Joe, my father didn't have enough life insurance. This is the child. Can you offer me insurance? Can you sell me insurance? So it's another way for you to get more applications when you go back to speak to the beneficiaries. You can review the policies they have. They got a policy for 7, and the funeral cost 8. There's a good possibility they're maybe going to get another 3,000 to 5,000 of coverage from you, to where their family doesn't have to come up with the difference in the money. So that's it. Be careful. Fill the applications out correctly. Remember that the funeral home can receive money directly from the from the insurance company, to where they get paid and the beneficiary gets money. So with that said, guys, thank you very much. That's it. We're going to talk about tomorrow how to do better field underwriting, which has got something to do with today's call, to where you can extract more information from a client, different ways to do it. So with that said, I appreciate your hard work. Call me if you need me. Make it a great day, and hit them hard, guys. Bye-bye.
The moderator has left the conference.